everyone, welcome to FM Chats for episode 8. I know it's been quite a while. I stopped for a couple of weeks, but we're back now. We're back and we're going to be consistent as ever. Today I have got Mr. Conor Woods, iRadio presenter and DJ. Conor, how are you keeping?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, no, lad, not too bad. Thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem at all. I think I put up on my private story earlier, like a picture of my setup being like, geez, it feels weird being the one getting interviewed and instead of doing the interview. And I was like, this is different, but it's cool.
That's good, man. That's good. I suppose when you're in the radio, like no one really sees your face. You kind of just hear the voice. So, do you think people be there listening, being like, they think that your face might look different to what it actually does?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like if anybody who is doing any type of audio, I'm sure people listen to me like every week, and I could walk by them in the street and not have a clue who I am. Um, but I think people pick up like paint their own picture of what you look like. Nobody expects like this ginger guy with a beard on the radio. But it has happened to me recently. I was in Leitrim um after doing a teen disco and I was leaving. There's these two boys like at a wedding just walking the street. And I was like, what's crack, boys? And I just walked by and your man just goes, oh, you're Conor Woods from my radio. And I was like, how do you know that? He's like, your voice. I was like, really? I felt a bit special then, so I walked away.
Yeah, I suppose when you're on the radio consistently, because you're on nearly every night of the week, like,
Yeah.
so when you're on consistently like that, people get to recognize the voice and stuff.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, 100%. And like, as well as that, something that I started doing that you probably see yourself because you join in is the TikTok lives. Um, and the whole thinking behind that is because everyone, if someone was on TV like every night of the week, you'd know who they were. If someone's on the radio every night of the week, you don't have a bubble what they look like. So it's just trying to join the dots. Like it is a marketing tool to be like, hey, this is me. I'm on the radio. Come listen to me, please. Keep me employed.
Come and join me. I don't want to be lonely.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I suppose, like, obviously you were saying the TikTok lives and stuff there. Like, obviously that's where I got to kind of notice you and uh, find out who you were. Because, like, obviously even down here where I am, we wouldn't get iRadio.
Yeah, you're out of our
Or the
reach. Yeah.
This is more the Midlands. So, um, obviously, I hopefully it might bring more people onto your side to obviously so listen to iRadio when you're on and so see
Yeah.
what you're like even outside of the radio.
Yeah, 100%. And if this is going to be, this is on YouTube as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So like I had a fall a couple of weeks ago and I was off work for 2 weeks. And I found it was mad because people were messaging me on Instagram being like, why aren't you on the radio? And then it was on TikTok as well, being like, why aren't you on the radio? Why is there no videos? And I'm like, okay, so people are noticing that that I'm not there. And I was like, okay, grand. Because like I would never think of myself as being like missed if I wasn't there. Um, so yeah, it's definitely helped join like people not join the radio, but people like who are listening or watching my live have often said, oh, I have you on the laptop or you're on the Alexa in the background or whatever else. And I'm like, deadly. That means more people are listening to radio and listen to me on the radio. It's a win. And if that's true using TikTok, 100%, 100% back it all the way.
And obviously that's obviously good for you as well when you hear that them type of comments, because obviously when you're in the studio, like, you don't get to see how many people are listening to you. So, like, you could be there
Yeah.
and 5 or 10 people could be listening to you, or hundreds or thousands of people could be listening to you. So you never really know how many you're actually talking to that night
Yeah.
unless they
Yeah.
text in. Like,
Like I do make the joke like when people talk about radio, I'm like, well, ultimately, I'm in a room which is padded by myself, talking to myself. So it sound only for us on radio, it would sound like I was locked up somewhere. But yeah, it's the thousands of people. Like for instance, RJ and Lors came out 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, sorry. And my Sunday show, which is iRadio Old School, went from 51,000 to 59,000. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And I was like, that many what people are listening to me on a Sunday. Like, that's three quarters of Crow Park if you were there. That's a lot of people. But when you're in the studio, I suppose that element of being by yourself, you don't ever think about it. I don't know if it'd bother me. If you're new and that and you thought about the numbers, Jesus, you'd pull your hair actually. Like, geez, all these people are listening to me. What am I going to say?
Do you ever get nervous when you're sitting there talking on night radio, like talking?
Do I, do I ever get nervous? When I started first, of course. Um, and at the moment, obviously, I've been doing it a while, so no. But when I started first, I was only on the weekends. Like a lot of people start on the weekends, for instance, right? And then when you get asked to cover shows, you could be covering for like big names. So like when I was in Spin on a 38 in Dublin, I was covering for Steve K, who's basically like the king of commercial hit radio. And doing them shows, I was like, oh my God, like the boots that I'm standing here are terrifyingly large. I was like 22. It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna make this work, hopefully. And that's when I said 10 spin tits in a row. Um,
Oh God.
yeah, and then for the likes like the first times when I've like covered for like the bigger shows like Breakfast and Dave in the afternoons, and like I think anytime when you're stepping outside of your own realm in radio, you have to be nervous a little bit because you're ultimately taking somebody else's child into your arms. I'm like, right, I'm going to manage this for the next few hours. But as goes on, radio for me is like riding a bike. Because I've been doing it for so long. I started when I was 21, so I'm 30 now. So I've been doing it a while, but I did take 3 years out to go back to college. So 6 years ultimately on the radio. But no, I don't think nerves come into it for me anymore. Sorry, it's a long ass answer.
I suppose just a question I have personally would be: do you ever kind of be there on the radio and be like, what do I say? Like, what am I going to say to strike up a conversation next? Or do you
Yeah.
always just know off the top of your head what you're going to say next? Like,
You're like, oh my God, the monkey is banging the drum, but there's nothing coming out. So if you're doing like a music show, this goes back to just having the experience of doing it. I kind of always know what's coming off the top of my head. Um, but like if you're doing like a drive time show or any content heavy show, you have a plan basically. So you have a good idea of what you're going or where you're going. So if it's forward selling a competition or it's forward selling a bit of content that you want to do, or even if it's just talking about the music, you have the information, you've retained it, and it's probably then just trusting your ability to be able to spiel it out without sound like an idiot. Is the answer. But like if you met me in person, I suppose a lot of radio people, I always say this as like we're all a bit little tilted, so our personalities are there, so that kind of helps us just pull out these things when we need to, I suppose. But yeah, no, I've never had a block, if that's what you mean, like a writer's block, basically, like instead of a presenter's block. I've never had that at all.
yeah, yeah. I suppose obviously you were saying you've been in the radio industry for quite a while.
Yeah.
Um, across them 6 to 10 years that you've been doing it, what's been your favorite? Like, what's your favorite part of the job if you had to pick one?
Oh, my favorite part of the job. My favorite part, like, so this goes back to something that I was taught when I was doing creative media and radio in Ballyfermot. Oh no, actually after that, when I was working for Freak. So this guy who basically taught me like the ropes of being a presenter, he said to me, he said to a group of people, he's like, when you're on the radio, there could be one person listening to you who is working a 12-hour shift, who is by themselves and won't see anyone till for another 6 hours or whatever else. So your job in that time is to make them smile, think of something that's happened to them that's good, and give them new music and keep them entertained. For me, like doing interviews with people like famous people is great and all right, but like there's no real human interaction in that because they've done it 100 times and they're giving you the same answer recycled. But when you can bring up a memory, when you can just do something that's kind of funny and it's witty, like the far end of that I'll never see, which is like people having a laugh or a conversation around it. That's that's my favorite part of the job. Sounds quite wholesome, doesn't it?
It does.
I'm like, I like the money. I know that's
And you, to be fair, I often see it there when you're on TikTok and stuff, and you do get asked a lot about the money side of it, like.
yeah. Look, radio is infamously for thinking everybody's rich, and that's not the case. We are just regular people doing like regular hours, but just in a job that's not very common. So people just automatically think, Jesus, you must be on 100 grand a year. I wish I was. I am, and I'm not. So yeah, it is a funny one. But it goes back to that perception of people think that TV and radio is kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like it isn't. It isn't at all. But I always say like it's a question that I'll never answer because yeah, radio and money, them conversations don't even happen with radio people. So it's definitely something that's the hat is on.
Cards are cards are held close to the chest in that one.
Absolutely, just in case taxman listen, I don't know nothing.
Yeah. I suppose for people who are wondering, like, how how do you personally get into doing radio? How did this whole job start for you?
This question is one that you ask quite a lot. It it doesn't have the chronological order that you think. What you think? I went to school and I went to college doing this. I didn't. So how it happened? I was DJing when I was in secondary school. I started DJing when I was 17, so fifth yearish. And I was in a long term relationship at the time when I left school, and that girl was in Dublin. Obviously not together now. But I just chose to go to Dublin. So I decided I'd do this business degree, which is HR management, which is literally about caring about people. And doesn't really work on my personality because I don't really give a shit. So I done that for the first semester, done my exams, and then broke news to my parents that I wasn't fucking going back to Dublin to college. No. So I spent the summer working at home in this like timber factory that's in my hometown where dreams obviously go to die. And my mom suggested to me just on the off chance, would I be interested in doing radio? And I was like, what? Radio? What? No. Why? Because I was already DJing and a woman that she worked with, her daughter works in RTE. Now, was she a presenter? Was she a TV person? Did she do the accounts? I don't have a fucking clue. But mom just said that. So I looked up the courses and I found Ballyfermot College Further Education, which is in Dublin. And I was a bit of a dick when I was leaving school because I thought PLC was below me, that kind of way. So I went there. I was there for 2 years doing creative media and radio. Met a load of cool people. And also showed how cutthroat radio is because of all the people that was in my class, I think only me at the moment still works in radio. So from there, I was joined an internet station, which is like, if you think of GEA, it's like a center of excellence. Let's say
Yeah.
it's Kilkenny's center of excellence there, or whatever else for hurling. This internet station called Freak FRQ.fm, and it's actually sad for the industry now that it's gone. It's been gone a few years, but like a lot of really good people came from there who are still on the radio today. And that's basically under a guy called Andy Clark. He taught me everything, absolutely everything, and he still messages me the odd time and all that stuff like that. So I learned from there, and then I started working in iRadio as like a promo staff on the I team, and it was fucking great, man. We got paid for having the crack, but we had really long ass days. But because I was DJing, I could like keep money to spend and just always be ready to work if they needed me. Now, and I know like today that's not really possible because people need to have money all the time. And then from there, I got on the weekends and was there for a while. Then went to Dublin to spin on the 3/8, spin to West, took the break, back to radio, and here since.
It's been
Sorry, that's a long way.
full circle for you, so.
Yeah, it full circle moment. It was. I see. I grew like obviously I'm from Meath, so I grew up listening to iRadio and the likes of Fergal Darcy and Simon Murdoch, Cooper Noona in the morning. So they were the names that I always knew, but I never thought, Jesus, when I was listening to them when I was like 16, I'll be working there one day. So when I went back, I was back for a couple of months, and the full time job came up of being the music coordinator and iRadio at night. And I didn't have much Irish at the time, but I was like, look, I'll go for this and I can fucking teach myself Irish. Like it's not that hard. Like I spoke it in school. So that's how it's transpired this. But yeah, like a full circle moment, man. Yeah, definitely. For iRadio anyway.
Yeah, because you're good at the old bit of Irish now, so you're like
Gormagat. Yeah, but man, I'm only good at it because I've asked people for help. There's people who I work with, people I used to work with, I found really good websites that have folklores, that have pronunciations, all that kind of stuff. So if I'm stuck, I know where to go, that kind of way. Um, so yeah, it sounds to people that I'm fluent. I am not. I am fucking not. Um, but yeah, I do speak Irish now, and like my parish is half and half. So there's a
Yeah,
Gaeltacht on one side. Now, growing up, we hate each other because they had different football team, but now we're together. Um, and I got a compliment from one of those people once, and I was like, Jesus, I must be doing something right here, or
yeah,
she must have heard the wrong radio station. But yeah, the Irish, I had to add in if I wanted to work full time.
yeah. So, because like when people do either listen or watch you, like they would think that you are fluent Irish. I thought you were anyway when I first started
Well,
watching you. Like,
well, fluent, like fluent means I could just talk forever all day. Irish, I definitely couldn't. Can I talk and talk about music and talk about radio and talk about kind of current things? Absolutely. Could I write that sentence down? I'd spell it wrong. Um, I think that's I think that's why Irish kind of became like I don't know, like a burden for people. I suppose they're a bit afraid of it, but I think if you have conversational Irish, it'll go a long way, and especially because of kneecap and all the stuff they're doing now. Everyone loves a bit of Gaelic.
I think the kneecap have definitely kind of brought the Gaeilge back into
Oh,
kind of
100%.
back.
100%. It needed something like that. It needed something like that big time. But I can't wait till kneecap is on the junior cert cycle.
Wait now till next year, like either
Yeah,
on
yeah.
or leaving cert, like
Yeah.
who knows? You could
God,
you could be on the junior cert cycle or something.
Jesus, I doubt it. I doubt it.
Obviously you were there. You were saying you've been doing DJing for quite a few years, like, and I suppose obviously I had DJ Shane on the podcast,
Yeah.
and so he was obviously telling us about how he got into DJing and listening to music from Sweden and stuff. I
Yeah.
I suppose how did you get into it? Were you the same or did you come a
Jeez,
different route?
you're going to like I'm now that I'm saying it out, it's like a lot of this has been fucking chance, to be honest. Um, I had no interest. I had no interest when I was in secondary school, right? I was a rocker. I had electric guitars. I wore an ACDC backpack, like a satchel to school. What a fucking loser. um, but I didn't match the guys I was friends with because all my mates were playing ga and all that shit. And I was like, had my skateboard and rollerblades, BMX. I loved rock music. And then one of the guys I became friends with then in the later years of school had like these Timu decks before it was Timu, and he left them in my house one day, right? And I used to just burn CDs. Obviously, I don't know, kids people don't do that anymore. But I used to burn CDs and just fuck around with them. Now I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I was like, I'm starting to get into this dance music. So so I bought a pair of decks when I was 18, got them delivered to my school because
Oh,
there was nobody at home. And then from there, I just started working in like old man pubs around where I'm from, doing parties and that kind of thing. I just wanted to be a club DJ, but obviously you can't just start and be a club DJ. So it takes a while. So I had to build up a name and all that kind of stuff. I actually don't do any of those gigs anymore, which is kind of sad, but I'll probably come past that really because people are like, "Geez, you're too fucking expensive there, no lad." Um, but yeah, I started by chance and was DJing in pubs. My first few gigs, I'll tell you, I had no equipment at the time. So this lad from my town was a DJ. So I used to rent the equipment off him and play in the pub that he used to play in. Now I used to get paid 120 euros for the night, and he used to charge me 60
oh,
for the fucking equipment. So I was coming home with 60 euro, but I was delighted, lad. I was delighted. But that's how I got into it. I then just fell in love with dance music. Then, obviously EDM was massive at that time, and the likes of Sweet Chase Mafia, Alesso, Avicii, Dimitri Vegas, like Mike, Steve Angelo, all those boys, got really into like the EDM side of stuff. And ultimately, like if you come to hear me DJ now, like in a club, or I posted a video the other day of a teen gig I done last week and just playing like kind of big room sound and stuff. And thankfully, it's gotten me to a certain point. But yeah, that's how we got into it, I suppose.
they must enjoy it anyway because they keep hiring you back. Like,
Man, unreal. Yeah, there was 1,000 kids at the junior disco I done last week. I was like, this is crazy. But yeah, it's cool. It makes you feel like you're like at Tomorrowland or fucking wherever those all those places. But you're definitely not.
You'd hope to be doing Tomorrowland at some stage.
Oh man, 100%. I'd be flying you out for the interview then if that was the case.
Oh my god, I'll be waiting for the invite. 100%.
I think you've been waiting a long time.
I suppose with the DJing, like you obviously you've done loads of gigs, different types of gigs, nightclubs, like teenage discos. What's been your favorite gig that you've done so far?
My favorite gig.
One where
God.
you've come out of it and you were like, "Geez, that's I'd love to go back and do that again, or I'd love to relive that night."
Um, geez, that's a tough one now. So I remember this was pretty early when I started DJing. I think I was 18 or 19. And there's this Mockra festival which happens in my town every year. It's called the Blue Jeans Country Queen. And because I was working in one of them pubs, them old man pubs, one of them decided that they were having a marquee on the side of the building, which was massive and it was packed. And obviously I was still in school when I was 18 because I'd done TY. So I was still pretty young. And I remember that gig, and it was just 3 hours, and the place was rammed. Like it was like here, look, you could have had like a jukebox playing in the background, it would have been rammed, because just because the people were in the town. But I remember after that gig, I was like, "Fuck me!" I was like, "That buzz, that feeling." I was like, "Yeah, I want to keep doing this." And that's what you chase all the time. Like so, anytime I have a big gig now, like don't get me wrong, I have an absolutely absurd a caffeine addiction, but after big gigs, you're absolutely buzzing. But like that was a gig that definitely sticks in my mind. And don't get me wrong, I've played like the Trinity Ball and stuff like that, and like do those massive teen things. But yeah, that was the one that's definitely sticked out. And that was 12 years ago.
The adrenaline was high, so
Man, unreal. I think it was because I just knew everybody there. Everyone was my friends, and like I don't think they could believe that it was going as well as it was, if that made sense. So I was
or,
like, yeah,
or,
this
or,
is
or else they were just afraid to say if you were shit or not.
yeah, they just didn't want to dint my ego. Like that was the fucking worst night ever. I don't know.
I suppose I was gonna flip that question out and like what's the worst gig you think you've ever done that stood out to you? Like,
Uh,
or one
um,
the atmosphere was just shit.
I've had gigs in the last 2 years, on really odd nights that have just tanked. So I won't tell you where, but not this Christmas, the one gone by. I done one of the weird nights over Christmas. Like it wasn't 23rd. It wasn't Christmas Eve, which is a weird night in between. And I played two songs, and the manager came up and he was like, "No, turn off there." And I was like, "Right, okay." And I was really far from home at that stage, and I was staying at the place. And your man was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Like we'll still pay and everywhere else." And he's like, "Just the town is just dead and gone." And I was like, "Oh God, I wish I was just fucking dead and gone." But that was grim. That was very very grim. It can be very disheartening sometimes when you think you're gonna have a savage night, and there's more crack in a mask card, like kind of
Yeah.
way. Yeah, so that was a bad night. And then another one that I had that sticks out is because I remember hearing this and I was, ugh. So when I still playing like in small pubs, right, around where I'm from, I was doing a 21st. Now, this 21st was hopping, and this young one fell and done her knee. And I could hear her scream over the music. And instantly, like, lights were on, like the house lights were on. Like, this was only like 10:30 at night or something. And I could hear her screaming as I turned off the music, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna be sick. Like,
Oh,
and then people, I just remember it, and I was like, and I still see that girl walk around the town now, and she's much older than she was then. But I'm like, yeah, I just think of that night where she done her knee, and I just when you hear a scream over a sound system, I was like, no, that fucking haunts you, like.
you know that's bad. You know it's bad.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
oh,
look, it's not a good sign anyway. That is fact. So other than that, I've been pretty lucky with having decent gigs. Now, don't get me wrong, if anybody's listening to this and wants to be a DJ, you have to do the shit gigs. You have to do the old man pubs that smell of farts. You have to play wagon wheel 6 times a weekend. All that shit to get where you want to be. Because I've had a lot of DJs start DJing, buy the equipment, and be like, oh, I want to do a club gig. And I'm like, lad, it doesn't start like that. You're not Tiesto. Relax.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you see, it's up and on deal for sale. So you're like, oh, look, you need to work at it.
I suppose when you are DJing or you are like doing when you are presenting on the radio, do you ever
Yeah.
get bored listening to the same songs over again or
I knew
playing the
a
same
question like this was
songs?
coming. My answer is no. Um, so when I'll talk about DJing first. So like, if everyone knows the same 20 songs that DJs can play at the end of the night, when I'm playing, I like will think to myself, right, I'm going to leave out two big songs on purpose and see what I fill the gap with. So like, if I could leave out Mr. Brightside or fucking Freed from Desire, one of those massive ones, see what I could put. Like, I kind of challenge myself with it. And that sometimes works out really well. Sometimes you need them songs to bring a bit of life in, but it keeps it interesting for me. And like, I love mashups, remixes, all that kind of stuff. So if it sounds good, I'm going to play it. As regards the radio, look, I know there is only a certain amount of top 40 tracks in the world
Mm.
that are decent. And I know it pisses people off that they're like, oh, I'm playing the same song. I'm like, well, first of all, you're listening to the radio all day. So thank you very much for that. But yeah, I understand people's thinking, but it's also like when you see someone, they automatically be like, oh, geez, the weather's not great today. You know, that kind of way. It's kind of like a myth that's taught about radio about. But outside of listening to the station, I listen to a lot of like rock music and maybe like American country and rap. So I do escape from the iRadio format of music, like when I'm at home or out for a walk or out for a run or whatever. So I don't find it in the station, no.
That's yeah, like that. I think that was something that I think a lot of people probably thought would be like listening to the same songs over and over must get very
Yeah,
tiring. Like
yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, you get sick of songs. Like, I could have murdered Shabuzi at the end of the year, but it was still doing well. And because when you're in my job, um, when you're in the business of playing the music that is doing well on the charts and all that kind of stuff, it's being used on social media, you have to play it. Or people are like, why aren't you playing Shabuzi? Now, could I have killed Shabuzi? Absolutely. But his song, we couldn't have iRadio without it for last year, you know?
and to be fair, he won a good few awards for it, so
Yeah, he picked up a
he
few medals here and there. Like,
can't complain.
no, no, no.
Suppose with Joe doing radio full time every day, like
Yeah.
what's kind of the typical what would be the typical day for you as a radio producer?
So my typical day, now this is because I'm on late at night. So I don't really get back. I don't get back home till around 1:30 when I leave the station. So it's about an hour and 10 minutes back to me. So my typical day is I'm usually awake by 10 o'clock. Um, I get up, then I'll have a bit of munch. I'll watch a bit of TV, bring the dog for a walk into the town usually. Because like the first half of my day is like my evening, right? So I have to like watch whatever series I'm watching or whatever else, stick that on, and then I'll whip out the laptop after going for coffee or whatever else and do emails, and then I'll sit down and start doing the scheduling, and like that's going through the all the music that's played for the station. I look at all that. Surprise, surprise! There's no such thing as requests. um,
No,
uh,
what?
oh no, my dream.
Shocking.
Um, So yeah, so that's what I do. I'll be on the laptop then for a while, and then come about 5 o'clock ish. I head for iRadio and be down there for about 10 past 6. Continue on doing my bits as regards to scheduling wise, get things ready for the show. And if that needs to be done while I'm down there, like clipping like mentions that are obviously paid for, or getting snoops or um getting like talking to the presenters because part of my job is organizing interviews and stuff. So I'll have to speak to them like, is this does this suit you or that suit you or can you go and see this person in Dublin and blah blah blah. So yeah, my day is very chill, I would say. I think what people struggle with when I tell them about how I work is the first part of my day is my evening basically, and then I'm gone then from 5 o'clock or sometimes even earlier at 3 o'clock And then I'm in iRadio till at least 12, and then I'm home. So yeah, that's like my basic day. Doesn't sound very exciting, does it?
I suppose that though, listening to like your day and stuff like that. I suppose like with your life wise, does that ever impact like events or anything like that?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. Um, the long answer is 100%. If you want to chase something like working in media or DJing or all those things, because of how the hours work, you are usually like take someone who gets up in the morning and goes to work during at 9 o'clock and they're finished at 5. That's them done. If you want to chase anything in media, if you want to chase podcasting, if you want to chase just being a DJ or whatever else like that, if you want to play in a band, your hours are drastically different. So for instance, for me personally, like I'm at home till 5 o'clock. My dad comes home, and that's basically it. My friends are all working. Don't want to hear from anybody during the day because obviously they're working, and then when I'm working, they're off. So it can be hard midweek to do stuff. And when I started out first, and I was DJing first, I used to like be DJing on a Saturday night, and then I used to play GA and hurling on Sunday mornings, and then it got to a stage where I was like, I was bollocks, and I was like, fuck, I can't do this. Like, so I gave up sport, lost the connection with them lads, that I still see, but it's just not the same, kind of way. So yeah, I think it requires sacrifice, definitely. But yeah, I would definitely you need to know that before you step into it because you learn that very, very quickly.
Um, I suppose with that, like in your saying, there's a lot of kind of sacrifice and stuff. Do you ever kind of wake up in the morning and be like, "Jesus, sometimes I wish I was kind of doing something else," or do you wake up when you're excited, being like, "I get to do this for a living," kind of thing?
Never. I never wake up and dread the day that or my day's work. Never. Um, I think I'm in an incredibly privileged position to have a career in what I love. Like I do make the jokes and like my mates, I'm like, I do my hobbies, I DJ and I radio, and I somehow get paid. Like the money arrives in my bank account, and I'm like I never see myself as having to work. I heard someone once say before about get a job, do what you love, you'll never work. And the second job is talking about what you love, you'll never work. So I thankfully, I don't know how, touch wood, have landed on my feet with that. Um, but yeah, sure, there's times I find when there's stuff going on in your personal life, having to be a broadcaster can be tough. Those are the days where I would probably be like, oh, don't want to go and do a show today because whatever's going on or this is going on. Those are the only days I would ever struggle with going to radio.
Yeah, like just that I suppose with the sacrifice and stuff like that. As you were saying, it can be hard at times and stuff like that.
Mm.
But I suppose with you were saying you've been in radio now for a good couple of years. You've been DJing, so as we've just got kind of started 2025, and I suppose what would be your kind of plans for this year, maybe next year? Is there anything exciting happening or?
Long-term plans. Long-term plans are stuff are things that are hard to come by in radio. Um, Radio is very volatile at times. So basically, like I could have a job today, and then next week I couldn't have a job. Like that's how radio works sometimes. Can you plan for that? I don't think so. But I think because of the people who work in radio, we're very adaptive. So I think if things do go wrong, we will know what to do. But for me, over the next year, there is radio awards that happen every year. I would love to get nominated for one of those. Now, do they carry any weight? Really? No. It's very much an aesthetic thing, is my thinking of it. But it would be nice to be recognized in that kind of way. Because I think I'm good at what I do as well. That's my ego there kicking in. So I'd love to get that done. Um, would I change radio stations? More than likely not. I love radio. I love iRadio. I like being able to shape the music that people listen to every day. That's cool. Um, DJing wise is where I'm unsure. Uh, because I've gotten to this point of like being a club DJ, and let's say there's only like 10 club DJs in the country that play all the clubs. I'm in that. Um, and my question for the last few months is like, okay, what's after this? Like, I'm playing the same gigs. I'm traveling to Westport. I've been in Donegal, um, do Athlone, do Dundalk, Drogheda, here in Meath. Like, what's next is the hard thing to ask yourself. And like for me, I it's probably production wise, I would say. But then again, everybody with a fucking laptop is a producer now. So it's a hard one. It is a hard one. To do that way. I actually want to grow my social media. Of course, I'd love to have 10k and 10k on both. So if you're listening to this, it's Conor Woods. I'm only messing. But yeah, that's kind of my short term, my long term goals, I would say, work wise anyway, 100%.
That's good, like, because obviously, at least you know kind of what you want. Because I'd say there is quite a few people out there that was long term. They probably have no idea. They're probably just going with the flow and living it
Going
day
with the
by day.
flow. Yeah, 100%. Like, look, my mates, the lads I'm really good friends with are boys who are working like trades, like, and they're only doing them because they feel like they had to, kind of way. Would be absolutely fucking nothing I would do. You see these hands? These hands are the most soft hands in the country. They'll never see a work site ever again. But yeah, like, I think for people who are not sure what they're doing, being surrounded by people who seem to know exactly what they're doing is a fucking awful place to be. But you just need to know what you want yourself. And like I said there about like giving up on the GA and kind of sacrificing going to events like 21st and 18th because I was working. That was I knew I was going to be coming away from the boys that I'd grown up with for like 20 years basically. But do I regret that now? Absolutely not. Because I have the life I want, you know. So yeah, yeah, that's kind of where I am. And also, like, sorry, sorry, go across your Jack. Not knowing where you want to be should not be influenced by anybody else is another thing that I would fucking say. So just chase what you want to chase.
And I suppose that every some Jesus, where am I going with this? One thing I ask kind of everyone that does come on the podcast,
Yeah,
if you could leave, I suppose I always try and get someone to like leave their mark on an episode, like, so if
yeah.
you could leave like a phrase or a saying that you live by, like, what throw out there, what would that be?
Jesus, that's philosophical as fuck. Um, hard work beats talent is definitely one that will comes to mind. And the harder you work, the luckier you get is another thing too. Something that was an issue for me when I was chasing radio first was a lack of belief in it from other people. And that became very, very hard in the head. But I would say take your opportunities, go for things, risk it, fuck it. Failure is the best thing for you. You can teach yourself so much from failing, falling flat on your face, and you never know what might happen out of it. Like, I know that sounds so wanky and like, oh, philosophical, but like if I had given up when people around me weren't 100% in on it, I probably wouldn't be happy at the moment. So yeah, that's probably my 2 cents there. Quite
There's
long, isn't it?
together. But
Uh,
no, thanks very much, Connor, for coming on. That's I really appreciate it. I know you're busy
yeah, it's no problem.
doing
It's a
doing everything, like.
Yeah, no, I'm doing a bit. It's nice to be in my home studio doing something else rather than doing actual work. Yeah, no, it's great. One of the things that resonates a lot with me, and I said this to you already, is when I started out doing this kind of stuff, people in the industry and people who I still know today who are friends, um, gave me a hand when they didn't need to. Like, they could have been like, oh no, I'm too busy. Good luck. So doing stuff like this, and if you can help someone out who also wants to chase a path that you do, absolutely put your hand out and help them up the next step if they can. So I'm like feel it's great to have this chat and be on here.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Connor. I really appreciate it. I suppose that's kind of it for this episode. I'll be on again hopefully in the next week or so. Keep an eye on the socials and all that crack. And I have a few stuff lined up, so we'll go from there. If you want to know more about Connor, you can tune in from 9 till 12 is it, on
Yeah.
your radio show, and obviously he's trying to get to 5 and 10K. So go to It's Conor Woods on TikTok and Instagram. They'll all be kind of linked below. And if you want to see that scar and that face again, you can always click. You can always click into the TikTok live. He's live pretty much every night with his dodgy connections from the
Yeah.
studio.
Or you can watch any of the Harry Potter films. It looks like I'm an actor.
Yeah, lads, he's all an actor, he's not a DJ. It's
Yeah,
all bullshit.
class.
But no, Connor, thanks very much. I really appreciate
Thanks for having me.
you coming on. But yeah, that's it. Anyway, lads, for episode 8, I've been Jack, and you've been watching FM Chats. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.